What's going on? Today we're going to be talking about Don't Breathe 2. Welcome to Victims and Villains on whatever platform you guys are watching this on. Just a quick aside real quick, if you guys are new to Victims and Villains, we are a publication / nonprofit that educates and engages individuals on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture in our content. And on this video in particularly, we are going to be talking about Don't Breathe 2. My name is Captain Nostalgia. I'm one of the podcasters and writers here on staff. And just a quick disclaimer, in preparation for the release of this movie, we also put out a episode on the original Don't Breathe from 2016. You guys can find it wherever you guys find your podcast from. We're going to have links as well in the descriptions below. Guess we should start talking about this train wreck. So Don't Breathe 2, not even sure really where it fits in terms of time with the original film. Takes place, I would imagine, several years later, at least 8 years after the original. Basically, Stephen Lang returns as the blind guy. This time, ironically enough, he's a protagonist, but yet somehow still an antagonist at the same time. It's weird, and this film is very messy, as I'm going to be describing, but basically he steals the daughter of a guy who cooks meth for a living, and after the guy gets out of jail, he goes hunting for his daughter, and basically a reversal of the first film's events take place. And let's talk about this movie. Making Stephen Lang a hero or sympathetic in any way, shape, or form just feels like reckless abandonment for your original brilliant 2016 source material that this movie is based on. While the first film did portray Lang as sympathetic, they gave him reasons to be sympathetic. It wasn't just like, oh, this is a guy that we're breaking into the house of and he's going to be sympathetic. No, he is a war veteran who suffers from PTSD, lost his eyesight because of it, and on top of that, lost his daughter to drunk driving. Like, that's a reason to pretty much be sympathetic towards a character. Here he just happens to be the better of two evils. And it's really ironic and really weird and strange the way that they just try to set this film up, because it almost feels like they're trying to make Don't Breathe into The Purge. When you look at the first 2011 Purge and how it goes from Purge to Anarchy, there's a tonal shift and a genre change that happens. However, The Purge does it brilliantly because it still feels connected to the larger story. This just happens to have the same characters, but feels so disconnected and so disjointed from the original film. When I say that the bad guys of the movie, they're basically guys that cook meth for a living, and they're somehow connected to this human organ trafficking ring that's being led by this mysterious doctor. I don't know, the film is very loosey-goosey with it. The thing about these characters, from their design to their name, even the way that they interact, we've seen these characters so many times before. They are stock bad guys by this point, and specifically, they are stock bad guys propped up to make the hero look even better. And that's what it feels like they're doing with the Stephen Lang character. I wouldn't be surprised if I went on IMDb and looked through it, and I would be genuinely surprised if these characters had names, because I, for the life of me, can't honestly remember them. And they are so incredibly bland and just bring the film down in monstrous ways. First two acts of this movie, absolutely very hard to get through. The first act really builds up Stephen Lang's character as a hero. The second one really builds up the meth guys and kind of their whole practice and kind of why this ringleader really needs Stephen Lang's quote-unquote daughter. And then somehow both worlds mesh together in the third one for a battle royale, and this film is incredibly messy. To call it anything else would just be a great disservice to what this film has done for its source material. And when you look at something like Halloween from 1978, how it's pretty relatively bloodless, and the body count's really low. And then you look at something like 1981's Halloween 2 and you realize, okay, hey, there's something different that's taking place here. Now we're starting to see a increase in body count and blood. The same way, that's how Don't Breathe 2016 transitions to Don't Breathe 2 here. It just feels like a reckless abandon for the service. And while I am all about body counts and blood, I'm a horror junkie at heart, but it has to move the story forward. And especially when you're looking at it through the lens of critique, it has to push the story forward. And unfortunately, Don't Breathe 2 just doesn't cut it. And when we're talking about mental health moments specifically for this film, the daughter, the young actress, does a great job in this film. She is one of the very few highlights that I can actually pull from. However, her journey as a character throughout the course of the film, she doesn't know who she is. And so she's spending the entire film kind of understanding the identity, and then she's come to, in the climax of the film, once the truth has been revealed and she's faced with two toxic environments that she has to ultimately go down from, she ultimately sees and understands that throughout the course of the events of the film, that I'm not going to spoil anything of what she decides, but ultimately she kind of has to reflect on the toxicity of her environment and the environment in which she wants to grow up in. It's something that we don't honestly consider sometimes when we're growing up. We think of it as normal, and then as adults we seemingly reflect on it. But we need to get into a position, and I would challenge you guys that environments really do shape who we become. And if we grew up in environments where we are called worthless, stupid, idiot, any derogatory names, we tend to gravitate and make those a part of our identity. But when we're placed in uplifting environments and encouraged throughout courses of our events, even if they're bad, we tend to gravitate and say that it's okay to mess up, and we're just going to dust myself off and go through again. And those make tremendous changes and improvements to one's mental health. And so I just want to encourage you guys in that, to know that you have value and that you have worth. And if you don't have any other encouragement on the internet today, and you just stumbled across this review of Don't Breathe 2, just know that you have value and you have worth. And there are suicide prevention and mental health resources in the descriptions below. If you guys are watching this on IGTV, click the link in our bio over there to get them as well. Thank you guys for watching this. So I'm gonna give Don't Breathe 2 a rating now on our Rorschach rating scale. I'm going to give this one 1.5. There are some genuinely great moments in this film, but those moments are like diamonds in the rough. It is really hard to navigate throughout this film. It's messy, it feels pointless, it feels bland, and it just feels like a total abomination to the original source material from 2016. So go check out our original episode on Don't Breathe 2016. And make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button below and check out the resources in the descriptions below. Have a great day, guys.